What, Cody?
I love that manga.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Volume 1, the Anime and Manga podcast, where we usually review the first volume of a brand new manga each week. But today, we're ranking our personal top 5 mangas, with the only caveat being that it has to have been a series that we reviewed on this channel. You might be thinking, if you're watching this, that there's a video like that already exists on this channel. Well, times have changed, and we've read more than we have read at that time. And also, on that video, those were not our personal favorites. So, in order to go back and set the record straight, this is going to be us all sharing for the first time on camera to each other our top 5 manga series. My name is Josh Magic Michaels, and today, as always, I am joined by
Megan Preen.
Oh, Cody Decker.
We're just saying our names.
Maybe we were going to do a thing, but Cody, top 5 Decker.
So let's just jump right into it. We have our 5. We haven't shared our 5 with one another.
I do not expect to be blown away by what you guys picked, though.
I do think that
no,
there are going to be, maybe once we get into the top 2 range, is where we're going to maybe start having some similar series. But I think 5 and or 3 and below is going to be very interesting.
So we're going to start with the least ranking and then work our way up.
Number
So
5?
we'll start with number 5.
Okay.
No, we'll start at our least favorite, then we'll start at our favorite, and then we'll just go down to like what we care about less.
Oh my
That's
God.
what you said in the last
That's
video.
exactly what you
Oh
said.
my God.
Yeah, you fucking idiot.
You look dumb.
You look so dumb right now. Egg on your face.
And then we'll give a little description as to why. Look, you have to take into consideration this is a lot of pressure. This is our personal 5. We have to give a good reason as to why it is there.
Okay.
So we'll all take a moment to make our case. I think it's between Megan and Cody to start. Who wants to go first with their number 5
You gonna
pick?
play rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors. Oh, we're gonna just shoot.
Gotta do
Rock,
shoot.
paper, scissors.
Gotta do shoot.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
So does that mean you go first?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. My 5th one, I'm picking because, you know, my criteria for something being something I really enjoy and like sort of like has a place in my heart, even though it's already pretty new, it's going to be Dan to Dan.
Number 5.
For
Interesting.
no other reason than like I haven't had enough experience with the story to like get higher in rank. So like, again, like for me to say it's my favorite, it has to be something I've gone through and like I've like connected with fully. So I'm putting Dan to Dan at number 5 because it's like already, even though it's all just came out, I'm already like I connect with the characters. I love the art and I love the way that it works. And
Yeah. Cody, I'm gonna jump the beam and just say that my 5 is Dan to Dan as well.
What the fuck?
Let me just say this.
Okay.
Top 5 of all time
Shit.
that we've reviewed on this channel. Okay, that is one of the rules.
Yes.
I will piggyback a little bit off what Cody said. Yeah, I don't know a lot of where the story is going to go. It is super new, but what it's done in the short amount of time that it's been out has literally blown me away.
I will be more surprised if I'm not happy with it than I will be if it's one of my favorite stories by the time it's done.
And it already seems to have had like a mini sort of arc that's been completed.
A spark of like the fact that I'm looking forward to like finishing this. I can't wait. I'm already connected to all these characters. Like the fact you can feel it in your heart. Like I love this story.
And what the art style is able to accomplish in the dynamic poses, the gestures, the characters, the demons, the monsters, the ghouls, the ghosts, whatever. It is just, it's so unique. It is so unique. I cannot compare it to anything else. It's absurd. It's absurdity at its finest. Dan Dan is my number 5.
Wow.
Megan.
Oh my God, I'm scared to say what my number 5
Why?
is because I'm not going to give anything away, but Dan to Dan is higher on the list for me.
Oh.
Which I can understand.
What was that supposed to mean?
Well,
I was kidding.
This is what's making this interesting. I'm curious to see what your number 5
Literally
is.
everything you said, ditto, but I'll talk about it when I talk about it. But my number 5, don't come at me.
Not going to come at you.
And this
Maybe
is
not.
5, okay? So it's very high on the list out of 10. Kaiju number 8.
Okay. That's fair.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay, Kaiju number 8, only because I need to read more of it And I feel like I was more fulfilled with Dan to Dan as a higher on my list than I was Kaiju number 8. Not saying it's on my 5 list because it's freaking amazing. But I feel like Dan to Dan got a little higher on my list, honestly.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot more.
And not to jump the beam, aka jump the shark again.
Are you saying jump the beam?
Yeah.
beam?
Jump the beam.
You're wearing a beam shirt.
Yeah.
Not to
That's
jump the
funny.
shark.
That's
Egg
funny.
on your face
Thank you.
again,
No,
Cody.
yeah, I'll take. Yeah, no, that's on me, man.
Thanks.
That's a great joke.
Thanks, dude. Thanks, dude. I will say
You
this.
kept pointing at me. I'm like,
Out of context, you're like,
Beam.
what is happening?
You're like, what the fuck are you
Yeah.
doing? What are you implying?
that's.
yeah.
I failed you as an audience.
No, it's fine. I
Aw.
didn't enunciate.
Yeah, I was like, beam,
It's my bad.
beam. It's so
Yeah. But I'm going to jump the shark a little bit again and say that, Megan, I agree with you because Kaiju number 8, Dan to Dan is higher than Kaiju number 8 on my list as well.
Oh.
Meaning that Kaiju number 8 is not on my top 5.
Wow. See, that is interesting. That
What's
is very
more
interesting.
is the same thing happened to me.
Yeah.
It was originally was like in my top 3.
You guys.
I know.
But as much as I loved it, like I loved the character, I loved like everything it did with the story. You know, I did still have like issues with like some of the ways that the things happened, and it was like it. As much as I loved it, it didn't hit me as much enough to like. It's definitely a 5.1. And if I had just a little bit more room, it would have made my top 5.
See, this was very close for me, and I'm sure this might be. I have a feeling that it's on both of your guys' lists higher than this, but this beat Pluto for me
See, and I do want to say really quick too about
a little bit, by barely, because I was like debating Kaiju number 8, Pluto, like what's my number 5? Because
Yeah.
I really did love Pluto a lot, but
Yeah.
I just read more Kaiju number 8 than I did Pluto, so maybe that's why I'm a little biased. But it was a very close call.
Yeah, Kaiju number 8 too. I want to say that I do enjoy it a lot, and I love everything about the protagonist, the way it's telling its story. I think if you haven't read it, read it. I just think that of the things that we've read, there are things that stuck with me more. So I just want to go on record saying that I do love it.
I think that's one of that's my top 6 manga. Kaiju number 8. It was really like it was on there until like the last minute before I'm like, I can't forget this one, which means someone's got to go.
If I was going to have an honorable mentions list, Kaiju number 8 would be on it.
Yes.
Wow, okay.
So having said that,
Oh
number
my
4.
gosh,
Moving on to
okay.
number 4. I think, Megan, maybe you start with number 4 this time.
Okay, this one I feel are not going to be on your list because I definitely dove way into it.
Okay, I like it.
Number 4, Tokyo Revengers. Now I have read up to I was recalling what I'd read. I'm on volume 9, pretty much, chapter 74, like midway through volume 9. So I read way more than the first volume. Of course, I couldn't stop reading, and just remembering reading it versus when I watch it with you guys, I'm just like, oh my god, like you have to read this manga, like you just have to. Like the anime, as much as I love seeing it animated, as much as I love hearing Mikey, Draken, like all their voices, it's just like, oh my god, without the filler, without the weird censorship cuts, it's just not doing it the justice it deserves because it gets so good.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And you see like there's slight changes with the protagonist, and the manga's just it's just next level shit. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Me and Josh only read the manga until we started watching the anime to like catch up. Well, not even. Oh yeah, it started going past the first.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we read volume 1 only, and
Which
then
I
started
was
watching
like
the anime after that.
super impressed with that story. I thought it was
Blown away, yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, the anime's already out, and we like that's something we like watch together. And like the anime has been such a frustrating experience for me that in my head it like turns down like catching up with the story, because now I'm like, well, what am I gonna go back and read the manga to catch up to where I am in the anime now?
I mean, honestly, I would just stop watching the anime if you feel that strongly
I'm
about it and
almost
just
to that
catch up
point.
with the manga
It
because
is
it's
insanely frustrating.
It's insanely frustrating because
Yeah.
of, anime can at times be notorious for flashbacks, but the flashbacks are out of control.
Recap, flashback,
filler, repeating the same
Censorship,
shit
again,
in the middle of a fight. So like
Yeah.
during my character's like major moment, I'm like, oh well, okay, well I guess that would have been
And
nice
watching
to see.
it with you too, Megan, seeing you react to it and relive things that happen in the manga and be frustrated by the way that the anime is choosing to show it does make me want to read it. But I gotta agree with Cody that, it already has kind of tainted it a little bit for me.
Yeah, this manga, out of all the ones that we've read, I really went out of my way to read it on my own. If we did an episode or not, I just had to keep reading it because it was so good. And I knew the anime was coming out, and I know at what point it's going to stop covering the manga. But oh my god, you read the manga. I mean, if you're an anime only watcher, sure. Maybe watch the uncensored version. That might be a bit better. But
Definitely watch the uncensored.
Even then, it's like.
But read it.
Yeah, dude, you don't have you don't have 6 panels of him recalling what just happened and him explaining it again. It's moving forward. It never stops moving. You don't know what's gonna happen next. Even now, I'm like, what are they gonna do? Yeah. And you have that feeling in the anime, but dude, I it's on my 4 because I'm still reading it and I'm still excited to see what comes next.
I don't have that feeling in the anime. It does not seem like it's moving
forward. No, I'm saying
the anime has killed all, because I remember being so excited about that manga, and the anime killed almost all my hype about it.
You have to read it, you guys.
Yeah, no, I think maybe we need to
drop
stop
the anime.
Yeah.
We'll check out.
We need to watch a new anime together.
But that's why I can't read it because I'm gonna. Yeah, we're gonna drop the anime and just go back to the manga.
Yeah.
Cody, your number 4?
Gantz.
Oh
wow! I love this.
That is one of the first mangas that I've finished completely. It was.
That's true.
So you're telling me that your number 4 is Gantz?
Yes, it is one of the first mangas that I read the whole way through. It's something that I liked the character progression. I liked the sort of mystery that's happening throughout the whole story, and it pays off. And I couldn't stop myself from reading the whole series. And it connect what they do with multiple characters in it really connects with me. And I think you wouldn't guess you can't guess where that story goes, but they do a lot of satisfying things.
Wow.
Yeah.
If someone could read that manga and be like, oh, well, then this is going to happen with this character, I'll be like, you're a genius.
How did you feel about Gantz, Megan? I know it's probably not on your top 5.
No, it's not on my top 5, but I did enjoy it. I when we read it for the first time, I read a little bit after, and I was like, oh, okay. Very interesting indeed. I'm not going to give anything away, obviously. But I did enjoy what I read, and if Cody's saying all these wonderful things about it like he has been when he finished it, of course, might as well take a dip into the Gantz pool again.
Yeah, look, I loved Gantz upon second read. First read, because I didn't read enough of it, it didn't stick with me as much, but having gone back, I really enjoyed it. I don't blame you for putting it up there.
Yeah, it's it's a very unique and creative story, and the anime does one thing that I like better, but that's part of the character's progression and where he's going. But there's a lot I could go off on that series for a long time about what it does. Yeah, and that's why it's well, I have that opinion on it, so that's why it's higher up in my my rankings there.
Well, that just leaves my number 4.
What is it?
Which I don't know if it's gonna throw you for a loop or not, but I really did think a lot about it. And I was debating, if it even deserved to be on this list. But this is my list. My number 4 is Fire Punch.
Oh,
because it is a series that is complete. It's done. I know how it starts. I know how it ends. It has really interesting characters. It's obviously written and drawn by Fujimoto, who is prolific and who is a savant, a young genius. And this is one of his first works.
Yeah.
And what he's able to do and how he's able to weave themes like religion, sort of just the meaning of life and purpose, while simultaneously having fun and just making me feel like I'm reading a piece of art. I'm all manga, I think I would consider art, but this feels like a work of art in how it's drawn, how it's depicted, the themes that it's tackling, its cohesion. It's just it's absurdity. And it's seeming it seems at times random, but I think it's all purposeful. I really enjoyed it. It's my number 4.
It didn't get on my list.
Yeah.
I'll agree with you because it's higher on my list.
Oh!
Dang,
we only have a couple more to go. Jesus.
I know.
I guess I'll explain why it's a little higher for me when it gets to my top 3.
Okay.
But,
oh shit.
yes,
Yeah.
I that again, like he's one of the first authors that I read. So
Wow.
that's like when I getting into manga, it was like, okay, someone was like, you seem like you would like Fire Punch, and so like that's sort of my, and it is like this is sort of the bar I hold a lot of like stories I read to is Fujimoto, and that's why I can be seen as a little negative because I'm just like what I have set for myself by like reading Fujimoto has like really ruined my ability to enjoy
True.
things that don't go to the lengths he'll go to like tell an emotional story.
Yeah, and that's what it is too. Especially, you know, as of recording this, like Look Back came out recently, like how he's able to just convey emotions and character. I mean, he is really you know, sort of on another level. He's in his own sort of echelon. Okay, so I think we're gonna circle back around. We're gonna go Megan number 3.
Okay, number 3, like I said, a little higher on my list right now.
Mhm.
Dandadan.
Okay,
my
so
number 3. It's like you said before so eloquently for number 5. I did enjoy it quite a bit. The more I think about reading it, because I have put it on pause because of the podcast, not dissing, because, you know, we don't really read anything until we meet up and talk about it. But just thinking about reading it more again, it makes me so excited.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally like I'm scratching at my skin to read it. Like, that's how intense I feel about the story.
I'm really looking forward to when they officially release it. So we'll know what volume 2 is. So we'll have an excuse to like revisit that.
Oh yeah.
Like literally the next chapter after we stopped reading, I was like,
it's just like one of the first manga that I've ever read where I can literally see it. Like I could see the movement. It's so fluid in reading. It's so easy to read. The characters off the bat have a great dynamic. They're you know, you've seen that kind of dynamic before with a girl character and a guy character, but it's just so differently from anything I've ever read. And like you said, like the monsters and the world, and it's just like I believe it all. I'm 100% in. Chips all in. Like just give me more. I need more. That's why it's my number 3, because I've only read so little of it that I feel this immense about it.
Yeah, what it was able to do. The fact that it's on our top 5 list at all, and the amount that is currently out is what it is, should speak volumes.
And no, seriously.
Volume 1.
And it's crazy. Like it's insane about all the series that we've read, all the manga that we've read. We're almost at 100 manga at this, or episodes. Yeah, I guess manga, but it's just impacted me so much, and I can't wait to keep reading. And I think that's like a testament to how great it is and how it's on my top list. I was thinking about my top 3, and I was like, okay, I can't not put Dan somewhere on here. And Kaiju number 8 was number 5, and I was like, there's no way I'm like, it has to be higher up on my list. It is mainly I was thinking about how excited I was to keep reading it is what made me put it on my number 3.
That feeling of like, and it is the cool thing about like reading like mangas when they just come out to them. I'm like, oh wow, someone's gonna grow up with this.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a classic in like a year or two. Like people like this will be something that like will like hold up to time and stuff.
To be fair, there is another title on my list that I haven't completed, but the reason that I ended up ultimately putting Fire Punch above Dan was because I know how it ends. Now, you know, that might seem hypocritical because there's a series higher on my list that I haven't finished, but
same.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a close call.
I get that too, because it's like, well, part of like you finish the story so you enjoy it more. I mean, that's just part of enjoying something is like I've experienced it in its entirety. I love what I've seen of Dan, and I have no doubt I'll love even more of it, but like I can't say I like it more than things I've like finished.
I have a very vivid memory of finishing Fire Punch and how I felt. And while like Berserk, you know, I've talked in previous episodes about how I like had to put it down and really just like sit there. Like with Fire Punch, I can't articulate the feeling that I had. I just remember what it felt like. Yes. And I remember like immediately taking a shower after and just being like literally, as cheesy as it sounds, like the story was also like washing over me. And it was a phenomena that I had not experienced in a long time.
So speaking of the reason it's on my 3,
it's on Cody's 3.
Because like, yeah, that's like, I read 3 mangas when I started getting into it, and Fire Punch was the one that like, yeah, like I've read through it like 3 times. Every time the ending, like you feel this like feeling in your chest. I love like the message about it, and I love how it like handles like everything, and it is something like, oh, that's like a part, that's like something I think about.
Yeah.
So it's a part of like my life experience now is that manga.
Yeah. I absolutely 100% agree. I mean, it's because on my list, because I guess say that these other series, just like where I was at in my life at the point that I read them, they impacted me a little bit more. I can
see the thing with Fire Punch though, is it's like outside of like the couple of characters you get, you don't really, there's not other stuff to connect to character wise to like really feel it as so much. Like the story, it's where I think it's more story than it is, about all these characters and all their stuff. I like them. Yeah. But like it is like, okay, I like this, I love this character, and I love this character. The rest I enjoy.
Yeah. So moving on to my number 3. Yeah, this is something, again, I do feel like we're gonna maybe around 1 and 2 have some overlap, but
yeah, I don't know.
I don't think we're going to be sharing number 2.
We'll see.
I'm scared to release my number 2 because it was very close, but continue number 3.
My number 3 is Pluto.
You really liked Pluto.
Very happy with that story. More so that I felt like, did I miss something with how happy it made you?
I don't know what it was. I mean, all I can really say is that's the feeling. I can't really say that it's gonna be. Yeah.
Did you watch like Astro Boy and stuff? Like you?
I mean, here and there. I wasn't like
you
obsessed.
Were saying like, oh, it's this character. This character. Like, oh yeah, I don't know any of that.
Yeah. No.
I mean, I definitely watched it here and there, and I am familiar with the creator of Astro Boy, like some of his other works, and I did read like Buddha and stuff like that. So just like it tickled me that it was an homage to him at all, and that it was done by Urasawa in the way that it was done. I mean, again, all I can say is the way I felt during that specific couple of chapters where, it wove in between genres, it almost seemed like, going from detective story to a story about like a musician and a robot, and then the song and the emotions. I mean, I was like over the moon with that series. Like it was
it's just so well done. It's just so well done. He's a freaking genius. I watched more of like Manben, which is his little like show where he interviews mangaka, like, world-renowned mangaka, and just listen to this guy talk. He's so cool, so down to earth, such a cool guy, and just I'm like, oh, this guy made this. Like, it's just like putting 2 and 2 together, like just this man is a freaking genius, and so many people in the show are just like, oh my god, this is Sensei, Sensei, and he's just like, shut up, no, just stop, oh my gosh, and it's this is so fucking good.
His works didn't make it into my top list, but I love him as a writer.
Yeah, dude.
It's just, other stuff just connected a little bit more, but everything I've read from him, I've enjoyed, and I love, like, his writing is
phenomenal.
Top,
yeah.
It's hard when you're making a top 5, you're going to have to make some cuts, and it's tough, but ultimately it is, up to each individual person.
That's why, like, my individual criteria is, like, stuff that, like, connected with me, because it is like, oh, I enjoyed the heck out of that series, but like I can't really say that that's like a part of me.
But I'm so glad that even you guys were able to see it, like how it really affected me. And
I knew it was gonna be higher on yours. I was like, that's why I mentioned it before. I was like, Pluto. Yeah, I knew it.
It just like it touched me in like in when I think back on it, like the first like word that pops to my head is like beauty, but like beauty across like all categories, like writing, art, adaptation, expansion of a universe, of a pre-existing universe. It's just, it's amazing. But that's my number 3. Now we're moving on to 1 and 2 territory.
Okay, do you want to go?
I can go.
Yeah.
My number 2 is Kiro.
What?
What, Cody?
I love that manga. It still kills me that video did not do well at all.
Wow. If you're Cody Simps out there, go watch Kiro for this old guy, huh?
Yeah. I mean, Kiro is a fantastic series.
I can say like, earlier manga, this is the first manga I read. This is the thing that got me into like reading manga, because I got to see like, these are this is like the level of storytelling that I can see. I think like I still think about how amazing the mystery is set up and how the story is told and how like great the art, and most of it's colored, and like just how it doesn't give you exposition. It shows these people in this world and how no one's like trying to figure anything out. You as the audience member is trying to figure it out, and I haven't really felt that. And I think it's one of the best, most well-written stories I've ever read, like in any like medium.
Wow.
And I really do not like that it does not get as much.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I do have to agree with you and say that like Kiro is an amazing series, and I really enjoyed it. And going back to like episodes and how they did, you know, Shadow House was that mangaka's follow-up series, and I thought Kiro was way better than Shadow House. Yeah. Although Shadow House was fun and good.
I finished the first season of Shadow House, and I'm just like, okay, like they set up a story, set up the mystery, and you kind of figure that out through season 1 pretty quickly. I'm not sure what else they can do with the story at this point, honestly, because they kind of just laid it all on the table. But Kiro's a series whereas like you are learning, you know, everyone else knows the secret, but you don't know the secret, and then it entices you to keep reading, which I felt. So, I mean, I would love to keep reading more. Eventually.
The ending of Kiro. I know like the band ruined the definition of the word, but sublime, which is like terror and awe, and that is how I felt like at the finale, where I was just like, oh my god, and like I felt like the characters like seeing all this stuff happen, and I really was like so connected with like, this sense of like, what, you know, this is amazing.
Yeah, maybe that video will get a second life, because it baffles me how, I mean, you know, I can't exactly remember like where we were as a podcast at that time.
I don't think we all read the first volume either.
I feel I did.
I think I did.
I was trying to squeeze in maybe a volume redone. But yeah, I mean, no, it doesn't. View-wise, it doesn't warrant it. So that's a hit I'll take.
Hey, why don't we just read it all as friends?
But
how about that?
It is something where it's like, if someone's like, "What's a manga I should read?" It's like, "What are you into?" Of course, but then it's like, you should check out Kiro, because I think it appeals to everyone.
I think that if you haven't seen our episode on it, I mean, check it out, because it's so crazy that it's, I think, the like 5th least viewed video that we have.
I check in on it every now and then, because I'm like, maybe, nope, okay, well.
And if
I was hoping Shadow House gave it a bump. No, all right.
Yeah, and if you don't want to sit through hearing us talk about it, then like read it, because it is it's not on my list, but it's something I would recommend. It's something I really did enjoy.
Yeah, and I consider it essential reading, especially if you like horror or you know, suspense thrillers or any like mystery stuff. Yeah. I still think about that. I'll just be walking and I'll think about that story. And I'm like, that was so cool.
Wow.
And I reread it every couple months, and I'm like, oh, beautiful.
Wow.
But it bombed, so.
Wow. I mean, this video has been, I have just been blown away.
I know.
By your guys' reveals each time. And maybe it'll happen again. Megan, what's your number 2?
Okay. This was really hard for me. It's very hard for me, honestly, because I have just been taken by this story completely.
I think I know what she's going to say.
It's my number 2, but it's my number 1 in my heart, honestly.
I for sure know what she's going to say.
Berserk.
Oh, I didn't know that that's what she was going to say.
What'd you think I was going to say?
I'll save it till the end.
Well, now we know what it, yeah. So, yeah.
It was, I know. Maybe I should change my answer, because I want it to be number 1, but my number...
Megan, you can.
I know I can't. Okay, cut it. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, why?
No, go back.
Is it not your number 1 because you're not enough into the story to say that?
I would say that, but it's my number 2, you know, of what we reviewed, because of just the scope of the story, how connected and how invested I am in this character. I have never felt in like an anime before, or a manga before, ever, like reading ever, like the scope of everything and what's going to happen and what's going to continue to happen. We haven't even touched the surface of it yet. Like, it feels insane. It's like insanity. And we're going to be reviewing it again soon, the conviction arc. And I'm just like reading it, and nothing can touch it. Like, it's like, you can't go read that and then read something else and you're like, well, it's not as good. But it is. And it's, oh God, like Guts, like I was going into this series knowing it was a heavy hitter, knowing everyone loved it, knowing it's a piece of art, Kentora Miura, rest in peace. Like, I knew this guy was a legend, and upon reading, I was like, okay, I'm not really into like fantasy type stuff. I mean, I am and I'm not, but especially for manga and anime, I don't like isekais, that type of genre. But I was blown away. Like, I am still continuously blown away by this man. Like, in general, like it shook me to my core. Yeah. Like his whole journey. I was so far. Yeah. Like, fuck. Yeah. Oh my god, it's my number 2. It was very hard to put at number 2 because I want to put number 1, but something else is coming number 1, and I just couldn't. Can't wait. I couldn't. No, you. This is gonna. Yeah, because it. I mean, it's like you can't. You can't really compare them because I just feel so differently about them. But it's like, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
It just didn't make my number 1.
Berserk didn't make my top list.
That's
crazy.
Because one, like, I'm not that far into the story.
Yeah.
And like, I like it, but like, I haven't really felt like a place in me for it. Like, it's not something that I've like connected with. It's something I enjoy, but it's not something that I'm like I like feel like I'm like a part. It's this weird feeling of like, with Dan did, and it's like I can see like there's like bits of me that I can relate to in that story. Now, it's a very good thing that I cannot relate to Guts. But that's just like one of the criteria for me to say that like, oh, it's my favorite, because like that's like a thing it's not that I hate it or I think it's bad. It just didn't make it into my top 5 because I'm just not I can't really say it's something I'm like,
yeah.
See, that's the different criteria for me, is that I like to be completely taken out of me even being put in this world in general. Like, I'm just reading this story. This is a person. This is his experience. This is the characters, what they've gone through. I'm not in it. I'm just on the sidelines watching. Like, I love it. Like, I'm completely immersed in the story. I have no idea what's going to happen next. And upon reading the first chapters of the Conviction arc, it's getting fucking hilarious. I love the comedy that they're just adding sprinkles here and there, and it's just becoming so much more enjoyable. And I think that's why I was on my number 2, because upon reading, the Conviction arc, a couple of volumes of it, it's just like, this is just getting better and better.
Yeah, I can definitely, I feel myself enjoying it like more.
Yeah.
And once I get to a part that involves wolves, I'm sure then it's gonna start hitting notes for me. But like, I know I will enjoy it farther. I just haven't really hit a note where I'm like, yes, I can feel it happening though.
It's bro. Yeah, it's already.
I agree with like, everything you guys are saying.
If we do this like once a year, it'll who knows?
Yeah, who knows? And that's why it might seem like we're doing it already pretty soon after having done it for the first time. But things move around, things change. Yeah. Speaking of moving around and changing, because I didn't do my number 2.
Okay, yeah.
My number 2, and now look, dude, you gotta. I kind of need to walk you through how I was feeling and what my logic was and where my head was at. Okay. You have to understand that it came down to 2 for me. And, on one hand, like, if you were to ask me, like, what is the most meaningful story to you, and like what made you feel the most, and what, as a story, what really affected you, versus like what means more to you, like, and represents more to you outside of just its story, which is also amazing. So on one hand, like, I have a special place in my heart. I'm suspending.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. Well, on one hand, because as a channel and as like what we've been able to do as a group, and just the amount of people that we've been able to connect with, like, this series means so much to me. And it's so close, if not almost tied for number 1, but my number 2, and that's still number 2, my second favorite manga of all time, currently is Chainsaw Man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. It's almost I'm so curious. If you ask me, what, like, what it means to me, like, it means to me more than just its story. Like, it means because of, it was one of the first episodes we did,
not one of.
It was the first episode we did. And, everybody we've been able to connect with because of it. Like, and Fujimoto as a mangaka, like, this was so hard for me. Like, I had a crisis.
No, we saw
now.
But I just have to be honest with myself and with my feelings in my heart. And while Chainsaw Man is almost tied, unfortunately, it is going to come in at number 2, which is still fucking high.
Should we use this as the transition for what my number 1 is?
Yes.
My number 1, I mean, it's Chainsaw Man.
Everybody knew that.
Yeah. If I'm over My Hero Academia, but I will always fondly look at that because that is how I found out about Chainsaw Man, because he got a cameo drawing in like the background. I was like, I love that design. What I saw the cover, like, oh, this looks amazing. And I've read that story like at least 4 times. I just read it. I like skimmed through it like an hour ago, and I was already like feeling all those emotions again. I love that it's like a real like coming of age story about like a guy growing up and about like learning about relationships, and like the action's amazing. And all this stuff where they say like, oh, Spider-Man's like a thing for like about growing up, and it's like, not really. He's not at all, actually. Not even on any level. He gets bit by a spider.
Yeah.
And he like starts fighting people, but like this is about a guy like learning about growing, like having like fantasies and dreams, finding out that like your fantasies aren't always like what you think they'll be, and like some solid like morals about relationships and stuff. And like,
absolutely, I agree with all that.
Every chapter being like, I have no idea what's going to happen, like feeling like sick in my stomach, seeing like what happens to characters that I've grown to like actually like feel like I like know. Nothing else has done it for me like Chainsaw Man has.
Yeah. And I agree. That's why it was so hard for me to not put it at my number 1 spot.
Yeah, the 1 and 2 spots, it's very much so like. But yeah, I this is the first merch for a product I've ever owned. Thanks to Megan Perrine, she got me a Chainsaw Man shirt, which is the first manga like merchandise I've ever owned. Like it's the first time I've like liked something enough to be like, I want to represent this, and I want to like wear it around. And it is really interesting seeing how people will still be like, I'm here because of Chainsaw Man, or in the Discord, and how people, and how the anime is coming out. I'm like, oh my, like we were, it was just nice. And I'm like, oh yeah, when chapter like 20 was out or whatever. It was like,
yeah.
And that's the feeling of Dan to Dan, is like recreating that feeling.
It does feel like this, we might be, at the same place that we were with Dan to Dan as we were back then with Chainsaw Man. Like, it could turn into that.
It's like, I have absolute faith that Dan to Dan will be another thing where it's like 3 years later, it's going to get an anime and everyone's going to be like, have you heard of this? And it's going to be so interesting to be like, yeah. And I bought, and yeah. And I like tell people at like work, like when Dan to Dan comes out, buy like 3 volume 1s, and you can sell it for like, you'll be able to sell for 3 times as much a week later.
Yeah.
That's my favorite manga of all. I still reread that series sometimes. I have all the volumes that I was able to find, and I just read them sometimes. I'm like, I love this.
Wow. Megan, what's your number 1? I feel like you might throw us for a loop, or I feel like you might give us
my number 1 is, hear me out.
Uh-oh.
Dr. Stone. No, I'm just kidding.
We knew it was coming.
I gotta be honest, Megan. I'm glad you're finally, to all of our viewers and listeners, you're finally like, being honest.
I'm finally saying it. No, my number 1 is Chainsaw Man.
Right.
Because, before this podcast, I was an anime only watcher.
Oh my God.
Oh my
Yikes.
God. I really didn't appreciate manga until I started reading Chainsaw Man fully. And that's a crazy statement.
Wow.
But I'm going to say it.
I had no idea.
Because, I've read manga before, but not fully not a whole story. It's not completed yet, but it's only part 1, but it's a complete story has been told. And just, it made me appreciate mangaka like Fujimoto so much, how you have this short amount of time in the first volume where you meet these characters and you already have a connection with them, and you already know who they are, you already know their desires, you already know kind of what they're about, and then it completely just obliterates that, and it's just like, yeah, they do that, but there's so much more to them. And you just see them grow as characters, and it's so heartwarming and so devastating, and it's such a great story overall. It has humor when it needs to. It has sad moments when it needs to. The art's amazing. It's just all across the board. Like, it hits all the notes for me that I want in an anime or a manga, or the anime is going to come out as well. And it's just like, fuck, it's everything that I would want in a story.
Yeah, well,
and more.
What he's able to do with like the medium, what he's able to do with like the genre that, quote unquote, that he works in, which it constantly sort of seems to break that traditional genres format. Like, and honestly, I feel like kind of what Fujimoto represents for like the industry, like the manga industry, and like what it means to like take breaks and like really take the time you need and to really like, again, like with Look Back having just came out, like Fujimoto, like what he represents and like what he's able to do, like outside of the stories he tells, when he chooses to tell them and what stories he chooses to tell. I mean, he is like, I mean, he's prolific. I mean, he's a once in a multi-generational, I think, like talent
It's
for
just-
sure.
Yeah, it's just I could not guess what was going to happen next, which is exactly what you want in a story. Like it was insanity. It was pure insanity. Reading Fire Punch, I mean, it just didn't make it on my list because Chainsaw Man just hit so many more notes for me as a story. I mean, obviously the message of Fire Punch, like the beauty of Fire Punch and like the overall story that it follows, that's a story that I could like not see, like I'm not putting myself in that, and I could connect to the Chainsaw Man characters way more than I can to a Fire Punch character in general.
Yes, Cody.
Yeah, I don't know any other series that has me liking every character.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that too.
Yeah, I like every time the character, I'm like, oh, is this? And I'm like, not only is it not that, it's better than what you thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, what's going to happen with this guy? Because I don't like them at all. Oh my God, that's amazing. I like every character is like a character.
Yeah.
Every character has a personality of their own. You can see them living outside of this little group that they're in, this workforce that they're in, and it's just so magical and unique, and it makes me want to keep reading more. I'm so excited for part 2, and it just really took a place in my heart. Like you said too, I mean, it's like so influential to our podcast. Like we all love it. It's all something that we really enjoyed all together for the first time, and it really made me appreciate manga more than I ever had.
Although I agree with everything that they both said, I am the odd man out.
Oh,
Because
oh my
I
God, what's your
Think
number
I
one?
know what it is.
Megan already said it.
Yes.
Dr. Stone. No, I'm just kidding. My number one, and I will explain, has to be Berserk.
Berserk.
Mm-hmm. Again, like this was a struggle. I went through it.
Would you say you were a struggler?
I would say I was a struggler. Cody, that's exactly what I would say.
And you had to sacrifice things in order to
And I had
achieve
to
your
sacrifice
dream.
things to achieve my dream.
But that's on brand for you.
But that's on brand for me. These are all things that I was gonna say.
I'm sorry.
Well, I scratched a bunch of things off my list.
Oh, never mind. Never mind.
For me, yeah, like, okay, being honest, yes, Chainsaw Man, and what's crazy about Chainsaw Man is not only is that series so impactful, but I think its creator, is so, impactful. And I used the word prolific earlier, but I think Miura is the same, in that, like, what he was able to do and the amount of, I mean, I'll get to what I love about the story, but, and unfortunately, like, when he passed, seeing how many people came together, seeing how many people like Berserk had touched and influenced, and how much it meant to people. There were people who I even think I said this on episode, who I had never even knew liked manga or anime, and like, they were posting about it and saying how much the series meant to them. Like, that is insane to me that he had that reach and he was able to do that by telling this story. That's outside of it. And also just like, his art, I can go on for days about his art and his spreads. And Megan, what you touched on, and a lot of things that Megan said, I agree with, but for the sake of like brevity and not repeating myself, I'm just going to say, I agree with Megan about your point of the scale.
It is wild how influential that like single work is.
Yeah. Even like you're saying, Cody, in some of our previous episodes too, like that it affected video games and inspired like things like Dark Souls. And it seems to have inspired like almost everything.
Yes, like every game that has a big sword, they'll be like, oh yeah, they have a like that whole developer team behind Dark Souls. Like every time they make a game, they're like their new one. They're like they have a branding system where you like you can get power ups depending on what brand you have. It is wild. Like everything I enjoy just goes back to Berserk.
Yeah. And as far as like a story outside of the point you made about scale, is that like I've always been drawn to fantasy. I think that fantasy stories tend to all be similar-ish, I want to say. but like Berserk, like it makes the fantasy like world its own by like these like its own interpretation of these characters, these monsters, these demons, and like how it's able to like humanize a protagonist like Guts in a world that's as like fantastical as it is. At the same time, like I felt things for him as if he was a real living, breathing person.
Yes.
At the same time, they're fighting like half, dog people, and that's like crazy to me. It has like been there in the background my entire life. I've even talked about like my cousin like recommending it to me through the years, and the fact that it's like echoed in my mind, and like I can always kind of think back, and it does like with causality and things like that, and like the themes and just like experiencing things when you need to. Like again, I think I needed to experience it when I did, and it kind of reawoke. It makes me not be able to speak right. It reawoke this sort of like passion.
No, it has been wild seeing you like I'm gonna make a helmet, making a sword, and you're staying up to like 3 a.m. like here's some pipes. I got the skeleton down here of the gym. I'm like, oh wow, you've entered like an awakening or
a reawakening.
What's a
an eclipse?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you could say my passion was eclipsed, and now it's like
If you say it's eclipsed, that means it's like overshadowed. So like your love of Berserk has eclipsed your love of...
Or we could just say I'm in the golden age of my creativity.
And you have a lot of conviction on that.
Oh.
Yeah. It like you guys said.
Yes.
Like, Cody,
it's all coming together.
It's all Berserk.
Like you said, like when you guys would come over and see like, I don't know what it was about it. And I want to do the same thing for Chainsaw Man. Like we've seen videos on making like Denji's, or Chainsaw Man's head and stuff. I want to do it for that series too, but like, I wanted to buy ballots and I wanted to make Dragon Slayers and I made a femto helmet. Like it just like really,
which I just realized is not on camera.
That's it sucks. It's so crazy. It's like right above. It's right up here.
I just assumed it was, but it's like on display. But
there's so many other things, It's up here, I promise. But yeah, man. I mean, we've already said a lot about it, and so I don't want to, keep anybody for too much longer. But
yeah. People are like, when can this video end?
Stop this madness.
It moved me. It moved me on a personal level. And while Chainsaw Man, I do feel like represents as a channel our favorite series. Yeah.
Do we want to like end on some honorable mentions?
I think we should.
Yeah, because there's some stuff where it's like, even though it didn't make my like top 5, it was definitely going to be in top 10 or whatever, There's not many things I like.
Yeah. We'll do a speed round of honorable mentions. But the last thing I just want to say is like, yes, as a channel, I think maybe Chainsaw Man represents like the channel's favorite manga.
Because like as the series progressed, we got to see like our videos like progress like with it. So it is this weird feeling of like, when we first like started doing Chainsaw Man, we got to see like, oh my, like people are really responding to this. And then like animes come out, we get to see people go back and like watch older episodes.
And we've grown too. Like as, it grows, the videos grow, like our podcast grows. And it's just, it's been wild. But I think like on a personal level, like Guts and the humanity and the trauma and just watching a character deal with that, and then having a protagonist or an antagonist, Griffith, who was just like, he checked all the boxes for me. And as far as like what an interesting protagonist is, or what I think should be, and I mean, and the fact that like, not to take away from Chainsaw Man, but and the fact that Berserk, like I read that in 2020 or 2021.
2021.
What year are we? But like, and that it's held up since when it was first written.
Yes.
Like that's another point to it. Is like, it's been decades.
And the art is like kind of, not
by today's standards,
not challenged by much is the art of that.
It's
up there, can't be.
And I don't
like it literally can't be.
I
challenged.
really don't know any other story that showed like the like progression of like a friend to like villain. I don't know any story that's pulled it off so
believably, gave it enough time. Like
it felt completely natural, and also being like, and now this is going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's stood the test of time. Like you said, it holds up to today's standards from a writing point, from an art point. I feel like, yeah, that's it. I mean, that's ultimately why. I mean, for many other reasons, this could be a 5-hour video. For many other reasons, like it had to be my number one. But Chainsaw Man's still number 2. Just want to let everybody know. And before we go, Cody, as you suggested, we should do a speed round of honorable mentions. Maybe just a couple, whatever you could think of off the top of your head.
Because
I didn't make our list.
Goblin Slayer is always going to be one of my favorites.
I'm surprised I didn't get on the list.
I know. But the thing is where I'm like, what's something that's like in my heart? And that is what I mean by like favorite, you know? And as much as I love the story and how it like deals with maybe something I'm putting too much into, like maybe it's not like trying to depict like someone with difficulties like socializing, although it definitely is, so never mind. Yeah. But like it was definitely a number 6, but it was just like I've just like since that was my favorite, but I have since gone through like other stories and I've like really like sat with it and like what's something that I can say that I love, and you know, it's just would have been number 6.
What I'm surprised wasn't on your list, Spy X Family.
Yeah, I was going to put it, you know, when I was making my full, like maybe top 10 list, it might have been on there, and I had to, you know, whittle it down. But I think, you know, why ultimately Spy X Family would be an honorable mention, but why it's not on the, you know, top 5 list for me is because while ultimately it is a wholesome, cute story that I can, you know, read and just forget all about all my problems. And it's so well drawn and the art style is so unique. I think like, ultimately, I feel like some of these series on my top 5 like changed me.
That's Spy X Family is amazing, but I forget that it's a thing until I like will like talk about it or read about it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I love it. It's great, but then I just forget about it.
Yeah.
Where I think like, you know, and Spy X Family like affected me. But I think like, you know, Berserk, Chainsaw Man, like, it changed the course of my life. I feel like, I mean, that level of intensity.
Yeah.
And I do think that if I were to have a top 10 list, that Spy X Family would be on.
Oh, of course.
But do you have an honorable mention? Because I have one honorable mention that I think would have been my number 6th.
Oh God, I don't know.
If you don't know, pressure.
6th. Yeah, no, you go first.
Well, would have been my number 6, and there's a reason for it. And there's some of it on that shelf back there, but it's hard to see. It would be The Promised Neverland. I am so obviously I've been scorned by the manga. I mean the anime.
Oh, I have mine. Okay, got it.
And the anime, like, you know, and the anime. I'm not going to even talk about it because this is a video full of positivity and things we like about things. But the reason I would include it on my number 6 is because it was sort of like it's what sort of like brought me back to my love for manga. Like if you look at my personal manga shelf, like I collected. I kind of stopped because I was, again, just so kind of just like hurt by what the anime did. But like I collected every single volume. I would go to Barnes & Noble, you know, and funny enough how like me and you connected like over Chainsaw Man. And, you know, I remember where we were at, just the two of us, and we were talking about, you know, you were telling me about this series that you loved. And that's my first memory of Chainsaw Man. My first memory of like being able to share The Promised Neverland with somebody is with Megan, where we were like sitting outside. And that's sort of also how like I discovered your love for anime, because she had like mentioned it. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, you know, every manga and anime fan feels this to a certain point. Like you love something and you're like, I can't talk about this thing I love with anybody. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, she mentions it or I mention it to her. I can't remember how it happened, but it got to a point where we could both start talking about it, you know, and then she fell in love with it. And then, you know, it brought me back to the medium, and it like reignited my like passion for like manga because, and this is the last thing I'll say, I feel like everybody has a period where they're like, you know, maybe really into something, and then, you know, they'll drop off for a little bit. And when I did drop off for a little bit, but when I came back, that's what I came back to. And so I really do remember sharing that with you. I can't remember who shared it with who, but I do remember like one of our first conversations about anime and manga. I think it was me telling you. Could be wrong.
Well, you know, like we were just like spitballing. You know, I like to see where the level of, you know, where the people's levels are at. Because I know Promised Neverland, I mean, it was a huge series at the time and stuff. And, you know, you're like, oh, okay, you watch this. Oh, yeah, I watch One Piece, or I watch Dragon Ball. Like, you know, things I'm like, okay. But do you watch this? Or like, do you watch this? Yeah. And then we started going into stuff that we'd watch, and I was like, oh my God, Josh, you're like up to date with all of the anime that's happening right now. Well, how have we not talked about this ever?
Yeah.
And it was just like funny to talk to someone about it, because really, I mean, no one I know except for my other cousin and my brother, like we talk about anime, and my dad too, but just like talking to a stranger about like, what are you watching, like that was great.
Yeah, and that's again like, so that's why I have such a fond memory of that series, because it brought me back. And it's also a great story. Like all those other things aside, it's a great, well-written story.
If we're gonna stop it at 2 honorable mentions, you haven't listed one yet?
I haven't.
Okay, so list one. I'll list my second, and then you list your second.
Okay. Blood on the Tracks.
Oh,
which yeah, dude, I have yet to finish it. I don't know if it's completed or not, but it's such a crazy story. It makes me feel so uneasy, like reading like Junji Ito and like other horror manga. Like I've never felt as pure dread as reading Blood on the Tracks, because it's just such a simple story about, you know, like mental illness and different things, but it's so eerily drawn and portrayed as a real life story that it just makes you forget that you're reading a manga and you're not just watching this kid's life unfold.
Yeah. Like
it's very much like Oyasumi Pun Pun, where it's, you know, it's very touches on a lot of heavy subjects and things about mental illness and depression and stuff like that. But reading Blood on the Tracks, I was reading in my room alone, and I was like getting scared. Yeah. And it's not even like that scary, but it just feels so uneasy, and I could talk about it all day, and I can't wait to finish it. I was waiting for chapters to come out, but I think it's caught up. I don't want to say that officially, but I'm not sure. But you guys have to read it. It's one of the best manga I've ever read. Scary manga, which I don't think it's classified as, but it's very eerie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
It would be it'd be up there for me too. Yeah.
Great.
Cody, got another honorable?
My Hero Vigilantes. I think
that was on our original list, but I'm glad to hear that it's on yours now, your honorable mention list.
Yeah, the story's almost over. Actually, it might be. The story's been coming to a close. I think it completely overshadows the original series in quality and characters. It's just, I have so much fun reading every chapter. It's a great story. It's just like, you know, not top 5 great, but it's something that I look forward to every time a new issue comes out.
Yeah. Well, I think we did it, guys.
Well,
I know. I can't think of another one right now.
You have another one?
I'm trying to
think. I
think.
only really said one, too. I only said Promised Neverland. Because Megan suggested Spy X Family, and I was like, well, yeah. Spy X Family. But if I had to choose another one, I mean, I have other ones that I really liked, but I think, you know, I mean, because you could throw 20th Century Boys up there, too.
I did like 20th Century Boys a lot.
Yeah. That's a story that, you know, I need to just finish it before.
Yeah. I mean, I think we got across what we needed to get across, and we shared with you for the first time our personal top 5s, because while I think that video, although it only came out like 2 or 3 months ago,
which seems like an insanely long time ago when I see that video.
Seems like an eternity ago, a 2-year eternity ago.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an honorable mention too.
Yeah.
Just upon watching the anime, I'm just like,
I mean, yeah, watching the anime, I was like, I cried twice.
No, you're gonna cry more.
I watched it with you guys, and I watched it with my roommates, and I'm just like, oh my god, that's amazing. And then it is so weird being like the opposite situation you where it takes a lot for you to cry.
Yeah,
it actually does not take much for me to cry.
I wish it didn't, man.
Yeah, it is great being in tune with your
cry.
Emotions. Were you told not to cry as a kid?
Yeah,
that explains it. That's funny because
I got like yelled at for crying.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But
I wanted to cry.
It is weird that I was raised emotionally open, which you would not think would result in it. The end result is I'm just okay with crying in front of people.
Well, I mean, I just have to say again, I know, you know, we went in, and you know, I might edit this down, and it might end up being a shorter video, but it probably won't be because we said a lot of.
And also consider, you know, it's not like, you know, people are like, oh, who are they? Let me hear their top 5. People usually are like they're looking for some context when watching videos.
Yeah.
At least that's what I've seen from the views on the older video.
Yeah, and hopefully, this is supposed to be an updated version because, you know, as we do more, you know, popular or classic series that took us a while to get around to, people are going back to that other video, and it's not really a good reflection of where we currently are.
Yeah, and 2 months might seem like a short time, but like how many stories we've discovered in 2 months, it is like, Oh yeah, no, that's not what I view. That's not what I think at all anymore.
Well, when
Yeah.
you roughly read 2 new series a week,
Yeah.
even if it's 2 months, that's 2, 4, 6, 8. It's a lot. I can't do math. It's a lot.
Well, the
It's
first
pretty
volume
basic,
Sure.
of a new series each week.
Each week. Did you
Yeah.
say each week?
Mhm.
Each week.
Each week.
Each week?
And speaking of each week, another episode of Volume 1 is coming out this week.
Oh my God.
What? Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh, I
Each
thought we were
week.
stopping.
Never. But thank you guys as always for watching. And, if you're listening to this, thank you for listening. Let us know what your top 5 manga are. If any of your top 5 manga are the same as ours, have conversations with us in the comments or in the Discord. The link should be working in the description of this video or on our About page or on our banner. And we're really curious to see what yours are and also really curious to see what you think of our lists.
Yeah.
Rip them to shreds if you want.
We'll rip them to shreds.
If you were surprised, if you thought like stuff should be on our list, because maybe we forgot, but also it has to be stuff we covered.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Don't put like something we've never covered before or read.
Well, yeah, there would be others that like would be up higher on my list, but it had to be ones that we covered.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, that's going to do it for, another little bonus, special, different episode. Hopefully you like it. If you want to see more, let us know that too. Maybe we'll do a top 5 anime or something.
Or top 5 least favorite.
Top 5
everyone.
least favorite.
Even though that'll probably let's not.
yeah.
We could
maybe
do
like,
anime.
Or like our maybe our list would change if it was our top volume 1s.
Or top 5 protagonists. I think
top 5 protagonists.
You can learn a lot from someone based on who their favorite protagonists are.
Actually, you know what? Out of all those ideas, let us know which one you want to see the most.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or give us other suggestions that we're not even.
No.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. Or give us some suggestions.
All right, don't.
Yeah. Or if you have
No.
recommendations to us based on our top 5.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
That would actually be interesting because now you know what we all like and why we like it. So
That's actually a great point.
and now you have no reason to recommend us stuff that you know if you can kind of guess we wouldn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, sometimes you get a curveball and you're like, I don't think I'm going to like this, and then all of a sudden, you connect with it on a level that
I'll be
you
open.
were
I'll be honest,
expecting.
I approach everything with the expectation of not liking it.
I know you do.
And an honorable mention that's not even on the podcast is BL Metamorphosis. If you haven't checked it out, check it out.
All right, just
I just wanted to say it. I'm sorry. I really had to say it because I'm literally like, it's so good. Okay, anyway.
But thank you for watching.
I was
Thank
thinking
you.
of Metamorphosis by Kafka.
No.
I was like, oh,
No.
that's in your top.
No.
No. Thank you for watching. We got to wrap this up. We're bad
my
at wrapping
God,
it up.
right.
We can keep talking all day. And if you want to keep hearing
Yeah.
us talk all day, you can click on our reviews for any of the videos or manga that we talked about in this video.
Whoa.
Did you see that?
That's
wow.
crazy.
Whoa.
But until next time, we got to get out of here on some kind of outro. Probably should go out on the outro of ours. It's always the same and never changes, which today,
That's a good idea to do the same
Volume
outro.
1 stamp of approval.
Love it. Don, she did it again.
Oh, yeah, you really.
I really did.
nailed it.
Yes,
She really
sir.
did it, yeah.
We should we'll get a stamp.
I get a yes or stamp.
Thank you for
We
watching.
should. We absolutely should.
Thank you for listening. And until next time, all these series got the
Volume 1 stamp of approval. Ta-da! Yeah.